lemongrass today. And so if you would tell me whether you are growing, hey Carrie, let me know if you're growing lemongrass or if you just want to grow it. And that way I can kind of get a feel for where you guys are with this. I am, full disclosure, a novice at lemongrass, but I'm not a novice at gardening. So hopefully I'll be able to tell you something that you don't already know about it. So lemongrass is part of the grass family. These are what the leaves look like. And if you've seen like ornamental grasses, basically that's pretty much what it is. And as a matter of fact, it's a really hardy plant in the right growing zone. And I'll talk about that in a few minutes, but lemongrass can be used as food, medicine. It can be dried for tea. It can be used in aromatherapy and as an ornamental plant. And as a matter of fact, I just watched a video last week. I'm sorry about my dog, guys, but I just watched a video last week of a guy in Australia that was growing lemongrass, and he said he propagated all the lemongrass he has from one single plant. So what he did was every time he propagated it, he would plant them on his fence line about a foot apart every time. And so he has this whole line along his fence line that's like a weed barrier. So do you ever get weeds like at your fence line and it's really hard to get those out of there? He did that along his fence line, and it looks really cool, and they eat it a lot. So that really worked out really well for him. And he did it all from one plant, which is super cool. So I have one plant, and so I'm hoping to do something like that. I'm not sure if it's going to be a fence line, but whatever. Lemongrass is generally really easy to grow in growing zones 8 and above. And so you can plant that outside. It does really well outdoors in the more tropical-ish type weather. And but it is possible. I know Heidi asked, could she grow it in zone 5B? And the answer is yes. If you're wanting to grow it in zone 7 and below, what you're going to want to do is probably grow it in a container, and you're going to want to overwinter it inside because it's not really going to survive that, because it's not really a cool weather plant, although you can do it. It can be done. There was a lot of questions, and 2 of them were, is it going to be a good mosquito repellent? Okay, and so Heidi just mentioned that it's a good wasp repellent. I'm not sure about that, whether it is or not, but I'll speak to mosquitoes because that's what was asked. And contrary to popular belief, it really isn't, by virtue of just growing a plant somewhere. Like I think somebody mentioned like putting a plant near their front door. You know, they were wondering if they'd be able to keep the mosquitoes away. And the answer is probably no. However, what you can do is like you can crush up the plants to release the oils in it, and then you can rub it on your skin. Or better yet, if you make an herbal preparation of like a topical lotion or something like that with lemongrass, that's probably going to be a better bet for a mosquito repellent, but it's only a short-term option. There is no guarantee that lemongrass will be a long-term option for repelling mosquitoes. So that's what I learned. I don't have any experience with this, although that Australian guy I was talking about with the fence line, he was saying that it doesn't work for him, and he actually showed the camera on his leg with mosquitoes right next to a lemongrass plant. So there's that. Oh, Melinda says that they get down into the lower 20s, upper teens, and hers dies back and comes back in the spring. That's kind of about where we're at. We're in zone 9B. So are you zone 9A, Melinda? That's what I'm guessing from what you just said. Where we live, we get down to about into the 20s. And so our lemongrass should theoretically come back. And so that should be fine. But I think wherever it freezes, I think that might be where the problem is at. I'm not sure. So let me just give you guys a full disclosure, if I didn't already do this before, is that I'm new to lemongrass. I bought one about a month ago, and I've got it in the ground. And because of our weird weather patterns this year, we've had a whole ton of rain. We're still experiencing some pretty cold temperatures, where usually by this time we'll have had, into the 90s here and there, not consistently, but we would have pretty hot weather. So that's not really happening right now. So the lemongrass is slow growing, but it's doing well. It's doing fine. Okay, so it works really well for being grown outdoors in zones 8 and above, and then I covered, zones 7 and below. And so you can overwinter it. I'm sure there are other things that you can probably do. I know that with rosemary, if you're in zone 7 or below, you can plant it by a south-facing wall. My assumption is that you can probably do that with lemongrass too, but it's probably going to be a trial and error thing. So these grow to be 3 to 5 feet tall, and you should plant them 2 feet apart in well-drained, not clay soil. They don't like to have their roots wet. And your soil should be pH 6 to 7. You can grow cilantro, basil, echinacea, or any other full sun loving plant next to it. Probably depending on the zone that you live in, the pests would be like aphids, slugs, spider mites, and that sort of thing. But again, in some areas you might have one kind of pest, in other areas not so much, or whatever. I'm not sure about where we live yet. So what you want to do when you plant it is you want to mix in some composted manure. And since it is like pretty much the whole plant is really just leaves, okay, so it's going to be a heavy nitrogen feeder. So every couple of weeks you can fertilize with worm tea or fish emulsion or some other kind of high nitrogen fertilizer, and that'll be really helpful for the plant. The leaves and the stalks are both edible in different ways. So basically, talking about preserving, the leaves can be dried in a dehydrator and used for tea or tea blends. The stalks can be chopped and frozen for later use in dishes. Culinary uses are going to be Asian dishes. The leaves, as I said before, it can be used in marinades and in herbal teas and blends. The medicinal properties, I'm just going to touch on. Fever reduction, it's got astringent properties. It's helpful for gas issues and other stomach issues. It's antibacterial and is helpful with headaches. Now there's a whole lot of other uses and properties that it has, but these are the ones that I was able to get, 2 to 3 herbalists to agree on. And so sometimes herbalists use like different words, and I'm still learning that kind of stuff, but these are the ones that seem to be pretty universal about lemongrass. So if you want to grow it in pots, you can do that, but if it grows too big, it's known to break the pots actually. So what you're going to want to do is make sure to harvest from it regularly, where you're actually harvesting the whole stalk, not just the leaves, because once the base gets, too big, it's gonna end up breaking the pot. You can totally divide these. You can propagate them, and so that's what I would do. So I guess I'm pretty much finished here with this information. So I hope it's been helpful to you. I'm sorry again that I don't know more about it, but I really enjoyed studying about it, and I needed to do that anyway since my plant is only about a month old. All right, guys, so that's pretty much it. Again, if you want to catch last week's live, you can do that in the video section or on my YouTube channel at stonefamilyfarmstead.com/YouTube. That should take you right there, and you can see it there. Do you want me to show my lemongrass plant, Karen? I can. No, I didn't show it, actually. I did show some leaves from it, but if you want, I can go outside. The camera might be a little bit shaky if you guys don't want or don't mind that, and then I'll sign off after that. When you're planting your plant, you're going to want to choose a full sun, but you guys can see the lemongrass plant right here. It's doing okay. It's kind of a baby. It would do better if I would have planted it on the other side of this tree. And I'm kind of sad that I didn't, but I think I can take it up and move it. Um, but I kind of was thinking that because it was delicate, that maybe it would need to have a little bit of shade and from the volatile sun that we get in the summer. But I think on the other side it might do a little bit better. So anyway.